Killer Love, the story of Lisa and Damian love, that enchanting feeling that plants hope in hearts and lights up the darkest nights, can sometimes become a poisoned dagger. In the story of Lisa Jones, love seemed like a rosy dream, a new beginning for a life filled with happiness and adventures. An 18-year-old young girl, full of ambitions, searching for someone to complete her and stand by her on her journey to achieve her dreams. But the love that Lisa thought was eternal was, in reality, a mask hiding behind it horrific betrayal and deceit. A handsome man, charming words, and glittering promises were the beginning of a love story that turned into a nightmare filled with mystery, conspiracies, and a struggle to escape the grip of death. In this story, we will live with Lisa the moments of first love, shattered dreams, and deadly betrayal. We will follow her steps as she faces the greatest challenge of her life, witnessing how innocence transforms into courage and how she found within herself a strength she never knew existed. Welcome to the story of Killer Love, where love becomes a weapon, and betrayal a lesson that cannot be forgotten. But we remind the friends of the channel and the viewers to please subscribe to the channel. In a small town near London, Lisa Jones, an ambitious 18-year-old girl filled with dreams, lived. She was passionate about art and interior design, dreaming of opening her own company. Her family was modest and loving, consisting of a father who worked as a teacher and a mother who took care of the household. Her life was going smoothly until the unexpected happened. One summer day, the family was invited to participate in a cruise on a luxury yacht. It was a sunny day, and the sea shimmered like a mirror under the sun's rays. As Lisa mingled among the guests, a tall, handsome man appeared, dressed in a smart suit and holding a glass of red wine. His name was Damian Miller, a 30-year-old commercial pilot. He had a charming personality and carefully chosen words. He approached her with a charming smile and said, "The sky is not as beautiful as your eyes." He began to talk about his adventures in travel and flying, about the places he had visited and the skies he had soared above. His words and charm captured Lisa's heart. Everything about him seemed like it had come out of a perfect romantic story. She felt like the main character in a classic film. In the following days, Damian did not stop sending romantic messages and unexpected gifts. One time, he sent a small plane carrying a bouquet of flowers and a message that read, "To the girl who made my heart soar." Their relationship quickly developed. He began taking her on surprise trips to enchanting places, dinner under the Eiffel Tower in Paris, a romantic getaway to the Swiss mountains, and nights out in the finest restaurants. But this fast and perfect relationship was not welcomed by her family. Her parents warned her about the significant age difference and Damian's mysterious nature, but she was completely smitten, believing he was the man who would fulfill her dreams. After months of her rapid and ideal relationship with Damian, tension began to rise between Lisa and her family. Her father, who had always protected her, became more strict and cautious. One night, while Lisa was sitting at the dinner table, her father began to speak in a serious tone. "Lisa, this man is not as he seems. The age difference is significant, and his behavior does not reassure me. I don't want you to put yourself in a position you might regret." But Lisa, driven by her love, responded strongly, "You don't understand. Damian loves me. He is different from anyone else I have ever known. Why can't you trust me?" The discussion ended with shouting between Lisa and her father, and her retreating to her room in tears. That night, she received a message from Damian saying, "We won't let anyone separate us. If you're ready, I'll be outside your house tomorrow to start our life together." Lisa spent the night in a state of hesitation, torn between her love for Damian and her loyalty to her family. But in the end, she wrote a short note and left it on her bed. "I love you all, but I need to make my own decision. Forgive me." At dawn, she left the house to find Damian waiting for her in his luxury car. When she saw him, she felt a mix of fear and excitement. He said to her with a confident smile, "From now on, you will be my queen. Don't worry, I will protect you from everything." The two fled to Italy, where Damian decided to organize a small wedding on a beach in the city of Venice. Damian chose a secluded beach, where the scene was like a dream, the waves sparkling under the moonlight, and white roses decorating the place. Lisa wore a simple yet elegant dress, while Damian wore a white suit that made him look like a knight in a fairy tale. He approached her holding a diamond-studded ring and said, "I promise to make our life feel like an endless story. You will live with me a life like no other." Lisa's eyes were filled with tears, but she did not know that these promises were just the beginning of a big deception. After the wedding, Damian took her to a luxurious villa in a suburb of London, where their new life began. For her, everything seemed perfect, a dream home, a handsome husband, and promises of eternal happiness. But behind this perfect facade, Damian was hiding dark secrets that would change her life forever. Months after their marriage, Lisa began to notice subtle changes in Damian's behavior. At first, things did not seem overly concerning. He was absent for longer periods than usual under the pretext of work, and he avoided talking about his day. But she started to notice small details that were not present at the beginning of their relationship. One of these details was his new habit of turning off his phone and putting it on silent whenever she was nearby. This was unusual for him, especially since he always boasted about his professional achievements and spoke openly about his calls. One night, while she was cleaning the bedroom, she saw his phone light up with a message on the screen. She couldn't see the full text, but she noticed it was from an unknown number. When she later asked him about the message, he claimed it was work-related and that there was nothing important. But the way he quickly responded and distanced himself from her right after raised her suspicions. One morning, while Damian was out, Lisa decided to clean his private office. This office was a place she rarely entered, as he considered it his personal work zone. While organizing the papers on his desk, she found a small note hidden under a stack of documents. She opened the note and found a list of names and phone numbers. Some were written in strange handwriting, while others appeared to be codes or abbreviations. What caught her attention was the name Michael Cooper, accompanied by the phrase next to the number. Transferring money next week. She felt disturbed, but she didn't confront Damian directly. Instead, she decided to take a picture of the page and send it to her friend Sarah, who worked as a legal assistant and had experience in reading suspicious documents. Just 2 days after finding the note, Lisa was folding Damian's clothes when she noticed a folded receipt inside one of his pockets. She opened it carefully, and the receipt indicated a large cash payment to someone named Michael Cooper, the same name she had found in the note. What confused her even more was that the amount paid was very large, and she didn't know they had that much money. When she confronted him with the receipt later, he exploded in anger and said, "Why are you going through my things? It's none of your business. It's related to an important job, and you wouldn't understand." But Lisa wasn't convinced. His way of getting angry felt more like an attempt to hide something, especially when he took the receipt from her hand and tore it up in front of her eyes. Days and nights passed, and one night, while Lisa was preparing to sleep, she woke up to the sound of Damian speaking softly in the living room. She tiptoed to listen to what he was saying, but she couldn't catch many words. All she heard was, "Don't worry, everything is under control. We'll move when the time is right." When he noticed her presence, he suddenly stopped talking and hung up the phone. He looked at her with a forced smile and said, "I was talking to one of my colleagues about a new deal." But Lisa noticed that his voice was tense and that he was trying to avoid her gaze. The next day, Lisa received a call from her friend Sarah, who had sent her a picture of a note. Sarah said in a serious tone, "Lisa, this note is not ordinary. The names in it seem to belong to a network of people who might be involved in illegal activities. Did you notice anything else strange?" Lisa told her about the receipt and the mysterious call, which made Sarah suggest that she be more cautious and not confront Damian directly until she was sure of his intentions. One day, while Lisa was cleaning the living room, she noticed a small device hidden among the books on the shelf. Upon closer inspection, she discovered it was a small camera. She was shocked, as she had never seen this device before and had no idea it was in the house. When she confronted Damian with the camera, he claimed it was a means of protection and that he had placed it to monitor any potential break-ins. But his justifications were not convincing, especially when he refused to let her check the recordings. On another day, Lisa noticed that Damian was going out more than usual. She decided to follow him. She took a taxi and trailed him to an abandoned industrial area. She saw Damian meeting 3 men inside an old warehouse. Although she couldn't hear what they were saying, she noticed from their movements that they were discussing something serious. When Damian returned home, he appeared tense and asked her if she had left the house. Lisa felt fear, but she composed herself and told him she had spent the day sleeping. The next night, while Damian was asleep, Lisa stole a glance at his phone. She found a text message that said, "Everything is ready. We will move in 2 days. Don't let her suspect anything." This moment was when Lisa became certain that her husband was hiding a dangerous secret. She began to plan her escape, but little did she know that things were about to get worse. One night, while she was preparing dinner, she heard violent knocking at the door. She opened it to find 3 masked men breaking into the house. They were armed and began shouting, demanding to know where the money and jewelry were. The men bound Lisa and Damian and started searching the house violently. They took everything of value, but what was strange was that Damian appeared unafraid. His gaze was cold, as if he knew these men. When Lisa tried to move or scream, one of the men approached and placed a gun to her head. Damian shouted, "Don't kill her. I'll tell you where everything is." But Lisa noticed that his words sounded more like a performance, as if something was being orchestrated in the background. As the men ransacked the house, she heard him whisper to one of them, "Make sure it looks like a real burglary. Kill her quietly and leave no evidence behind." Lisa felt a terror wash over her. The man she loved, the one she trusted, was planning to kill her. In that moment, she decided she would not give up. In a moment of chaos, Lisa pushed one of the men forcefully and ran upstairs. She hid in the closet and began to plan her escape. She found Damian's phone that had fallen during the break-in. She opened the camera and recorded a video in which she said, "I am Lisa Jones. Damian is trying to kill me. If you find this video, send help." She sent the video to her friend Sarah, then sneaked out the back window and fled into the nearby woods. Damian was an arrogant person unable to accept failure. Lisa, who he viewed as a pawn to be manipulated, had become his greatest threat. He felt insulted that she had escaped his grasp and revealed everything. For him, trying to kill her was not just about getting rid of the witness, but a way to regain his control and influence. As Lisa tried to escape, Damian and the three men pursued her. She reached a small lake where they cornered her. Damian grabbed her and put a gun to her head, shouting at the police who had arrived after receiving a report from the neighbors, "If you come any closer, I will kill her." But Lisa did not give up. In a bold move, she drove her elbow into his ribs, causing him to lose his balance and drop the gun. She seized the opportunity and threw herself towards the police, who arrested him and his men after a brief confrontation. Before the trial, Damian requested to speak with Lisa. She entered the interrogation room where he was handcuffed. He looked at her with a cold smile and said, "You think you've won, but you will always remember me. I am a part of your life." She looked at him firmly and said, "You are part of the past. I am strong now, and I will not let you control me again." Then she left the room, leaving behind all the memories. After the trial ended and the testimonies and evidence were heard, Lisa was preparing to leave when the police asked her to stay for a moment. They told her that Damian wanted to see her one last time before being transferred to prison. Despite her hesitation, she agreed to enter the interrogation room to confront him. She entered the room where Damian was sitting behind the glass, handcuffed and with a calm yet challenging look. When he saw her, a cold smile spread across his face, the same smile that had once enchanted her. "I didn't think you'd come, Lisa." "Brave of you," Damian said mockingly. She looked at him steadily, even though her heart was pounding. "I didn't come to hear your excuses. I came to close this chapter of my life forever." Damian chuckled lightly and said, "A chapter? Lisa, there is no closing. You know I will remain in your mind forever. Every beautiful moment we shared, every word I said to you, will come back to you when you are alone." Lisa stepped closer to the glass and said firmly, "You are wrong. All I will remember is that you are a traitor and a coward, and that I escaped your grasp. I am strong now, and you will not hurt me again." A silence fell for a moment, then Damian said in a low tone filled with false regret, "Things could have been different. I really loved you, Lisa." Lisa smiled bitterly and replied, "Love does not include betrayal or murder. Don't let the word be tainted by your actions." She left the room without looking back, leaving Damian in a state of anger and despair. Days after the trial, and just hours before the final verdict was issued, Lisa sat alone on a small beach near her family's home. She held her diary in which she had been writing since the beginning of her relationship with Damian. Pages filled with beautiful memories that had turned into pain and betrayal. She began to flip through the pages, and when she reached the page where she had written about her wedding night, she stopped. She read the words she had penned with hope, "I have found the man who will make my life more beautiful. I feel like the world is in my hands." She smiled bitterly and closed the notebook. She looked at the sea and said quietly to herself, "Maybe I was naive, but I have learned. The pain has made me stronger, and the betrayal has opened my eyes. This is not the end, but the beginning. The story is not over yet." After the trial where Lisa courageously testified against Damian and his partners, she tried to return to her normal life. She moved to a small house near the beach, a secluded place she thought would be safe for her. Nevertheless, she sometimes felt as if she were being watched, but there was no concrete evidence. Lisa was trying to overcome the shock and rebuild her life. One evening, she was sitting in the backyard reading a book, the wind playing with her hair. Everything seemed calm until the moment she heard the sound of light footsteps coming from behind the house. She lifted her head and felt a shiver run through her body. Little did she know that Damian, from inside his cell, had sent someone to eliminate her. The man was named Victor, one of Damian's former partners, who had not been arrested during the investigations. Victor received a secret message from Damian through one of the inmates, containing clear instructions: make it look like an accident. No mistakes. Victor was a professional, skilled at working silently and leaving no trace. He sneaked into Lisa's house after spending days carefully observing her movements. He knew she lived alone and often stayed in the backyard at this time. She stood up, took a deep breath, and threw the book into the sea. She watched the waves as if they were casting her past away. For the first time in months, she felt at peace and vowed to move forward. While Lisa was watching the book, she suddenly felt someone behind her. She turned quickly to find a masked man holding a dagger in his hand. She froze immediately, her eyes widening in terror. "Who are you? What do you want?" Lisa shouted in a trembling voice. Victor did not respond. He stepped toward her with steady strides, his cold gaze focused solely on her. Lisa began to back away, searching for anything to defend herself. As he approached her, she grabbed a metal chair beside her and lifted it to defend herself. She tried to fend him off when he lunged at her, but the dagger grazed her arm, causing her to drop the chair as she screamed in pain. Despite the pain and fear, Lisa did not give up. She saw a water hose on the ground, grabbed it, and directed a strong stream of water at Victor's face, which confused him and made him drop the dagger from his hand. Lisa seized the moment and ran towards the back door of the house. She slammed the door shut and took a deep breath as she quickly searched for her phone. But Victor did not give up. He began kicking the door, trying to break in. At that moment, Lisa noticed something else that could save her: a can of spray paint next to the entrance. She grabbed it and waited behind the door, her heart pounding. When Victor succeeded in breaking through the door, she sprayed the paint directly into his eyes, causing him to scream in pain and step back. She took the opportunity and ran outside, screaming for help. During her escape, she encountered a neighbor, an elderly man named Mr. Jones, who was passing by her house. He saw Lisa running while bleeding and heard her screams. Without hesitation, he took out his phone and called the police. Within minutes, a police patrol arrived at the scene. Victor tried to escape, but he wasn't fast enough. He was arrested after a short chase in the nearby woods. After Victor's arrest, during his interrogation, he confessed that Damian had sent him. He explained that Damian wanted revenge on Lisa because she had exposed everything and brought him down along with his plans. New charges were added to Damian's record, which meant he would face more penalties in prison. After this attempt, Lisa realized that she would never be completely safe as long as Damian was alive. But she also realized something else: I am stronger than I think. I will not live in fear. I will continue my life and leave it behind. She returned home after days, surrounded by the support of her neighbors and her friend Sarah, ready to start anew despite all the pain. This attack was a new turning point in her life, affirming her courage and ability to face challenges no matter how difficult they were. After going through all the trials and tragedies that shattered her life, Lisa finally decided to confront the other part of her story: her family. Since she ran away with Damian, she had cut off all communication with her parents, leaving a deep chasm between them filled with blame and regret. But she realized after everything she had been through that returning to them might be the lifeline she needed to rebuild her life. Lisa was driving her small car down a long deserted road, surrounded by autumn trees shedding their leaves. The cold air seeped in through the slightly open car window, but she could hardly feel it. All she could think about was how she would face her family after everything that had happened. Her heart was heavy with regret and fear. She approached the house where she spent her childhood. It looked the same, with the same front yard and the same trees her father had planted when she was a child. She parked the car in front of the gate and took a deep breath as she tried to calm her trembling hands. Lisa took her first steps toward the door, feeling like a small child who had done something terrible and was preparing to face the punishment. She raised her hand to knock on the door, but paused for a second, hesitant, then knocked lightly. Her father opened the door, standing there for a few seconds without saying a word. His eyes, which had been filled with reproach and disappointment during their last meeting, were now filled with astonishment and emotion. "Dad," Lisa said in a hoarse voice as she looked at his face. "Lisa? Is that you?" her father said in a hesitant voice, as if he couldn't believe what he was seeing. "Yes, Dad. I'm sorry. I messed up. And I needed to come back." In that moment, her father burst into tears, the first time she had ever seen him cry. He hugged her tightly as if he would never let her go again. Lisa felt the warmth of his hands on her back and that something broken inside her began to heal. While still in her father's embrace, she heard her mother's voice coming from inside the house. Her mother came out of the kitchen, standing in shock when she saw Lisa. At first, she didn't say a word, as if she were trying to make sure she wasn't imagining it. Then suddenly, she ran towards Lisa and hugged her tightly, her tears soaking Lisa's face. "Where have you been? How could you do this to us? We almost lost hope," her mother said, crying, as her hands wiped Lisa's face. "Mom, I'm sorry. I was foolish. I left you for an illusion. And I realized that too late. Please forgive me." The three of them sat in the living room, the same place that witnessed their last argument before Lisa ran away with Damian. Her father looked at her in silence for a long time, as if trying to comprehend everything she had been through. "Lisa, why? Why didn't you listen to us? We knew this man wasn't good for you. We tried to protect you, but you refused to listen." Lisa lowered her head, tears streaming down her cheeks. "I thought I knew everything. I thought I was following my heart. But I was wrong. And now I know you were trying to protect me. I paid a heavy price, but I need you now. Please forgive me." Her father looked at her for a long time, then said in a voice filled with tenderness, "Lisa, we are your family. We may get angry, we may be sad, but we will always be here for you. We are sorry we couldn't prevent your pain, but we are proud that you have come back to us." In that moment, Lisa sat on the ground at her father's feet, holding his hands, crying bitterly. "I don't deserve your forgiveness. I have hurt you both so much." Her mother took her hand and said gently, "Lisa, you have come back to us. That's all that matters. Everything else can be fixed." They embraced her together, and crying became the only language they could speak at that moment. The tears were filled with pain, with regret, but they were also filled with forgiveness and love. After long hours of talking, crying, and laughing for the first time in years, Lisa stepped out into the front yard to take a deep breath. She sat on the old swing that her father had made for her when she was a child. Her father came out and sat beside her in silence for a moment, then said, "Lisa, you are back, and that is enough. From now on, you will not be alone." Lisa looked at him and smiled from her heart. "Thank you, Dad. Thank you for not losing hope." In that moment, Lisa felt something she hadn't felt in years: peace. She knew the road to rebuilding her life was long, but she now understood she wouldn't face it alone. After everything Lisa had endured, pain, betrayal, and danger that nearly cost her life, she knew that surviving this experience was not mere coincidence. It was courage and determination that kept her standing. But she also realized that recovering from deep wounds, whether physical or emotional, would not be easy. Lisa decided to start anew, away from the past that haunted her. She moved to a quiet little town near the coast, where she rented an apartment overlooking the sea. The place was simple, but it gave her a sense of peace that she had missed for years. Every morning, she would sit on her balcony sipping warm coffee, watching the waves gently crash on the shore. In this tranquil place, she began to write her diary about everything she had been through. Writing became a therapy for her soul, a way to understand herself better and confront the pain she had lived. Despite all the disappointments, Lisa did not lose her passion for interior design. She began to take small steps toward realizing her old dream. She enrolled in an online course and started working on small projects to help local residents decorate their homes. As time passed, Lisa regained her self-confidence. Her work became a source of pride for her, and each new project rebuilt a part of her weary spirit. She finally felt that she was in control of her life again, after spending years in the grip of someone who wanted to destroy her. Lisa got a job and became busy with it, and she took an apartment close to her family, strengthening her relationship with them more than ever. They visited her regularly, her mother bringing her favorite dishes while her father helped her arrange her new apartment. One day, during a visit from her parents, Lisa sat with them on the porch and said, "I want to thank you both for everything. I wouldn't have made it here without you. You have always been my hidden strength." Her father embraced her and said with a voice full of pride, "You did this, Lisa. You survived and rebuilt yourself. We were just here to remind you that you are strong." Although the past was not completely erased, Lisa learned to live with it. She no longer saw herself as a victim but as a survivor. The experience made her stronger and wiser, but she did not lose her humanity or her ability to love. On one summer night, Lisa sat on the beach, holding a new notebook, and wrote, "Love can be a deadly weapon, but courage brings us back to life. I have walked through the darkness, but now I see the light again. This is not the end, but the beginning." She then closed the notebook and stood up to return to her apartment. With each step she took on the sand, she left behind a new mark, a symbol of a life rebuilt on foundations of strength, forgiveness, and hope. And so ends the story of Lisa, a tale that began with a love that seemed like a dream and ended in a nightmare filled with betrayal, but also full of courage and triumph. This story has taught us that pain and betrayal can break us, but they can also make us stronger. Lisa did not give up. She fought to reclaim her life and found the strength within herself to start anew. If Lisa's story has affected you and you want more stories filled with excitement and crime, don't forget to support us by subscribing to the channel. Our stories continue, and there are more thrilling events and experiences waiting for you. Click the subscribe button and activate the notification bell to receive all the updates. Thank you for following us, and we hope our stories are a source of inspiration and adventure for you.